One of the winners of the last.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Problem Solver Politics live stream. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Oh, hey, everybody.
And it looks like Amy Klobuchar is going to be Joe Biden's vice presidential pick, is what all the signals are pointing to. Cody, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, still breaking, I guess you could say. Breaking, but no, this is still developing right now. Joe Biden has asked Amy Klobuchar to undergo vetting to be his running mate, which, it's, as far as I know, he's not asking anyone else this, so it does seem like this is a pretty good indicator. You know what I will say? You know who's probably very, very, very happy about this? New York Times.
Yeah.
Who originally had their first ever double endorsement. And if neither of the people they endorsed for president or vice president, that would be, imagine like hedging your bet and losing anyway. So at least if they endorse Klobuchar, she'll be a VP potentially. But we're going through here. There's not too much to it right now. Just Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat of Minnesota, has been asked by Joe Biden to undergo a formal vetting to be considered as his vice presidential running mate. Which, I mean, like, dude, it's almost June. Like, at a certain point, you do have to pick a running mate. The request for information from potential running mates like Klobuchar is underway. A senior Biden campaign aide tells CBS News if a potential contender consents, she should be poised to undergo a rigorous multi-week review of her public and private life. Dude, like, okay, I get you want to vet your VP, but it's like he ran against you. He doesn't know anything. Like, they really don't know a lot of this about Amy Klobuchar already. They weren't trying to dig up dirt in Amy Klobuchar when they're running against her. All of a sudden, it's like she's some random person. I'll tell you one thing. If I was Amy Klobuchar, I'd be a little bit frustrated. Like, really? I have to go through a rigorous multi-week, like, you don't know anything about me? Like,
yeah, it
that'd
seems...
be a little, like, insulting. Like, God, like, you're not even, like you like, I don't know. Just like I competed against you and you basically thought so little of me. You're treating me like I'm a brand new person. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, but hey, I will say one thing though. If there's anybody that I would say, yeah, you know, I know nothing about you, it'd probably be Amy Klobuchar. It is really weird though.
We heard she's she's really nice to staffers. Just miscongeniality of the DNC.
Well, you brought that up. I think I closed it, unfortunately.
Okay.
I was looking because there's one thing I definitely remember about Amy Klobuchar. Like, what do you remember about Amy Klobuchar's campaign? There's one thing.
I remember she always looked nervous. Her hair in front bobs a lot.
Ooh, the shaky hair is a good idea.
Yeah, the shaky hair. And she seemed like she'd be a really nice neighbor until you heard the horror stories spanning decades from different staffers that claim that she treats them like the devil wears Prada.
That one from the campaign though, the shaky hair I remember on the debate stage.
Yeah.
What do you?
I remember. So I told him, let's see your hair in a thunderstorm.
Blizzard.
Or no, in a blizzard.
That was the one thing.
She delivered that line and she always goes like...
So we'll get into that in a second. Just to touch on for a second about the further news about Biden's potential VP. It appears that one contender, a Senator...
John Shaheen.
What name is it? Jeanne? Is it Jean? Is it John?
Jean?
I don't know. Tell you what, there's probably 5 ways you can say it, and I'll pick the 4 wrong ones in a row.
Yeah.
Jean, Democrat of New Hampshire, who is running for re-election, declined Biden's invitation to be considered. You know, if his invitation to be considered is to be basically like sent to Guantanamo Bay for a few weeks and interrogated, like, yeah, maybe it's better not to be considered. Doesn't this sound a little bit weird? Like, she should be poised to undergo a rigorous multi-week review of her public and private life and work by a hand-picked group of Biden's confidants who review tax returns, public speeches, voting records, past personal relationships, and potentially scandalous details from her past. Like, I understand a lot of this stuff probably is pretty standard. Obviously, it's not like
if you're not doing it, the Russians are doing it.
Well, no, you do a lot of this stuff when you're drafting a quarterback first in the draft. Like, don't get me wrong, this is all. But there is something weird to this notion that it's like it's weird to me that in order to be Biden's VP, it's like you need to be down with like what, they're gonna move her to a house? Like, what is this? Is she getting like exactly? Is she switching sides like the Soviet to the Soviets? Like, okay, we have to like make sure we have to put you like on a farm for a few months to make sure you're not like a spy or anything. Sounds a bit weird to me, but also I can tell you one thing: if there's all the people running, if there's any person who potentially could be his VP, who like there's nothing they would say no to, probably Amy Klobuchar.
Okay.
I would say Amy Klobuchar or what's her name? The woman who would not accept defeat. Stacey Abrams?
Yeah.
Right? Those two I can see just being
By the way, is that not such a shame that that is now her claim to fame? Is the woman who could not accept defeat.
Well, it's not that she could not accept. I don't know what she can or can't do personally. I just mean like she was the person who ran in Georgia and lost and made it, and like there was a big deal about her not saying like I lost immediately. That's all I mean. I'm not going to get into... maybe she can accept defeat remarkably well, and there was shenanigans, which I doubt. Just saying, I don't know anything about this person, but those are the two I could see that'd be like, yes, whatever it is, Biden. I want to be VP really bad. Yeah, and I mean, they'll go on that. In a statement that she's flattered, Vice President publicly mentioned my name to be Hassan as someone he would consider. They go through a lot of stuff in here. The biggest thing... because there's a lot of stuff in here. I've gone through this article. It's like, oh, Biden credited Klobuchar for her strong debate performances and for helping him win Minnesota. It's like,
okay.
I hope, man. Like she. Okay, you know what though? Something else about Amy Klobuchar I forgot. I didn't forget. I bring this up a lot, but I hadn't brought it up for this tonight, and I forgot about this.
Okay.
Cardin, how did Amy Klobuchar announce she was dropping out of the race?
Oh, at a Biden rally.
And not just on the stage.
On stage with the guy. I mean, it was basically like the opener at a rock concert decided they wanted to speak with the headliner and just perform right next to him. It was beautiful. I mean, it put song and dance. It put dog and pony show to a new level. You dog-faced pony soldier.
Yeah. I mean, this was she. Today, I am ending my campaign and endorsing Joe Biden for president. She, being Klobuchar, said at a rally here for the former vice president. He can bring our country together and build that coalition of our fired-up Democratic base. It was just, dude, there was no transition period. It was like Amy Klobuchar was running for president, and then she was a Biden shill. There was like no like middle ground.
Yeah.
And by Biden shill, I get like not everyone that endorses Biden's a Biden shill, but like, dude, she announced she was suspending her campaign on his rally stage. So, like, I mean, Elizabeth Warren waited months. Andrew Yang just kind of blurted it out in CNN. I think even like Bernie Sanders like released a statement or something, right? Like,
yeah.
Even, I mean, Amy Klobuchar had a bigger and more dramatic endorsement of Joe Biden than Hillary Clinton did. So, like, this was or Barack Obama did. So, definitely going back, I don't want to say the writing was on the wall, but I do remember that. I think we were streaming that night when it happened. Or we streamed it because it was supposed to be Biden's mega rally. Like, Beto. And that was the one Beto came out at? Like, Beto was there in Texas. Amy showed up. Bunch of nonsense like that.
Yeah, well, no, I remember where he said, because I'm going to need your help taking away everybody's guns. or something like that. That's when Beto was there. And it was like,
yeah,
hey, Beto's relevant again.
Is Beto still going to be Biden's gun czar? He said he would be.
Geez.
I mean, who knows after all what's happened I mean, isn't it crazy? We're talking about stuff that happened maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and it feels like lifetimes, right? Maybe like in January. When did Klobuchar drop out? Klobuchar dropped out. When was this? Yeah, March. Forgive me.
Okay.
Way back in the distant past of March 2nd of this year. So a couple months.
Tis distant.
That's crazy, man. That was like 2.5 months ago when Amy Klobuchar was announcing she was suspending her campaign and stuff. Really crazy stuff. Anyway, though, that's interesting for a couple of reasons. One, if Amy Klobuchar does go through this potentially demeaning and exhausting process to be granted the you know what though? You know why I think it might be different for this than other people though? Think about this.
Okay.
Why would it be more important that Biden's VP is like vetted way more than your average VP?
Well, besides the obvious joke that you're really vetting the president because the chances of him passing away in office are
Biden
like
says.
85 to 1 in the first 4 years.
Biden openly talks about, well, I'm old. I'm not going to be here forever. So he talks. It's like Biden might be thinking, hey, I have to make sure whoever I, potentially leave the office to is up to the job. But it is really weird. I don't know. Maybe I have to admit, every single time somebody announces they're having a vice president or they're tabbing someone to be their VP, I don't dig up the comment from their team on what kind of vetting process it will be. Yeah. But this does seem to be the way it's phrased, at least here on CBS News, a little excessive. Like holy cow, a little bit kind of like, okay, turn your whole life over. We're gonna have like people follow you around. We're gonna be doing all this stuff. I don't know, it's a little bit.
Is this just them hyping it up to try and make it sound like a bigger deal than it really is? Because they're trying to make her sound like a bigger person than she really is, because she went through a bigger vetting process than it really was.
I wouldn't think of it that way, but yeah, maybe.
Because these are the same idiots that said we're all gonna die of Ebola 5 years ago. These are the same boneheads that said Y2K was going to make us, planes drop out of the sky. It's the media, man. They lie to you. Okay.
Thank you. They do. Hey, I remember when Bill Simmons told me.
Why do you get so short-tempered whenever I complain about the media? It's like I'm complaining about your mother or something,
it'd be like me just sitting here like, oh my God, Bill Simmons told me the Boston Celtics were going to win the title in 2018.
Who's Bill Simmons?
He's a sports writer. He's the media. He's them. He's the they. He's the guy in the room with us right now somewhere that you have to speak to. I don't. Just because we'll be talking about a thing, and all of a sudden it's like we have to dig up. Like we have to go through old wounds. I guess your boy Obama. I guess Obama let you down in the Ebola. It's like, okay, I don't know. I just feel like we can't have a nice conversation about what's at hand. It's got to be about Ebola and Michael Jordan.
I didn't know I offended your boy, the media. Your boy.
Well, I want to talk about what's at hand. That's it.
Okay. Sorry. Complaints against the media out of play. Or no, what's it called when something's against the rules?
It's not against
what's
the
term?
Look, if you really want to just have a moan about when the media lied to you 12 years ago.
I need a good solid moan.
But it's just like, the media lied to me this morning, man. I think that's the bigger thing. It's like you pick really weird specific things. Like the media lied to me 9 years ago once. Like,
I was trying to choose an example, which was an example prolific enough that anybody in our audience would remember it. And so I was thinking,
Ebola, really?
You don't remember the wall-to-wall coverage for like 6 months straight? Want to know what I
remember? I was only this big. Do you want to know what I remember? I remember the weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein had. I remember those. Wait, actually, they weren't real. But tell you what, when I was a kid, I believed they were because they kept telling me they were. The government told me they were. I remember that one.
That's a good example.
But here's the difference, right?
The difference is that too.
Do you know who lied to us with WMDs though? People with names and those reports and those emails. Yeah. It's not just some ethereal they out there. It's like no, it was like literally people in the government, people in the Senate. There's emails that have been leaked.
Yeah, I was about to say that to me that was based off a little bit more of governmental incompetence and possible conspiracy, whereas there's a difference between just unabashed muckraking sensationalism. To me, one's a lower form of the other.
I think we're seeing the same thing, is where people in the media are told things by liars in the government, and then people in the media are just kind of lazy and say, "Oh, someone in the government told me it."
Yeah.
Someone in the government told me like everyone's gonna die. I guess I'll just have to write a story about it, not knowing that yes, that's what the person in the government told you this. Yeah. It's like sports. It's the same thing.
Okay.
Every now and then, sports media, for example, some sports writer will come out and just write an article about I imagine this player is very unhappy with this current situation. He probably doesn't. It's like Because he picked up a phone
I'd
and said,
imagine.
"I'm very unhappy with my current
Yeah.
situation." And then just speculating here. I mean, that's the same thing. That's how the information flows.
Okay.
Same thing here. Like, how do you think we found out about this? Do you think we found out? Did you think like some like journalist was like pounding the pavement and like dug up the dirt and was like, "I got this." I'm like, dude, do you know how many stories are broken by press releases?
Yeah.
The little people are supposed to be broken by press releases, or it won't be a press release. It'll just be 20 people on an email chain to a specific individual who represents something. So it's an exclusive press release. So it only goes 20 people on an email chain. But that's how they break a lot of these stories. Like this wasn't like, but it's not a big story. But I don't know. I do think it is interesting from what I read because you can look. They obviously got their words in, just talking about a whole bunch of the Veep stakes. Thank God we know about the Veep stakes. But that's the one thing that stood out to me that was really fascinating. They mentioned here too that Biden committed during a March primary debate to pick a woman as his running mate, which I still don't get why.
So progressive.
But here's the thing: why can't you just make that promise to yourself quietly? I don't get it, right? Because then, let's say you make that
No, because
promise.
he was thinking he would rally because our media is nothing but activist journals now,
he
so
was
he's
literally
hoping.
just pandering to voters. Yeah.
No, I don't think he's pandering to voters. I think he was pandering to the activist journalists because he knows that it's activist journalists that control the conversation in America now. No longer just regular journalists, but activist journalists. And since they've been corrupted by, ambition and politics like everything else, you have to cater to them. Those are the people that control the conversation of what goes out on Vox and whether or not Biden's worth millennials voting for. Those are the guys that control the conversation of what goes out on MSNBC and whether or not he's worth pushing.
Okay, but it's not true though, right?
As a what do you mean? I mean, that's not true.
Like it doesn't work that way.
You can't, what? You don't think the editor at Vox chooses basically in what light different candidates will be represented?
But it doesn't. But I mean, like,
that's the purpose of an editor.
But no, they do. But fundamentally, like, it doesn't amount to anything.
Okay,
Joe
I don't
Biden's never going to be popular.
I think he
with
was
young
virtue
people.
signaling to the media class more than he was virtue signaling to the voting class.
I agree. A class of voter. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. You're on something like I swear to God, man. Like you stub
I
your.
think the media controls
You
the
stub
conversation.
you stub your toe in the morning and you're like Anderson Cooper. He did it again. You get in your car, you're out of gas. Like that Brian Stelter. Why didn't I get gas? I just feel like you always have something to direct to the media. Sometimes it's not just.
Yes, I think the media.
There's other liars
The
out
media
there.
is the greatest failure of the four branches of government right now. Yes,
But there's
media.
but there's other liars out there.
I know there's other liars.
Like-
I'm just saying they are the greatest failure
I'm saying,
right now.
why does the CIA agent who picks up a phone and just tells a reporter a lie, the one not at fault? It's the reporter at fault. Ultimately, the reporter should do a better job.
Because the CIA agent is expected to be a snake, the reporter is expected to be held to a higher the ethics of journalism, my friend.
I mean, there's no ethics in journalism. There isn't.
Well, there's not, but there should be. And so I'm holding them that it should
I
be.
guess
Just
that-
like,
well, that was my
there's
point exactly. My
there's
point
liar
exactly, though.
cops, but I hold cops to a higher expectation because they've sworn an oath to protect the Constitution.
We can lament what things should be or just deal with what they are, okay? Like, I feel like it's just
Well,
what
maybe
it
that's
is.
why I'm your friend, because
you lament the things that should be instead.
and so maybe you need to be a little bit, maybe you need to be more lamentatious,
But
and maybe I need to be more presentatious.
It is what it is, right? Like, I think that, like, Joe Biden legitimately, I don't think Joe Biden thought, this will cost me votes, but I got to do it. Ultimately, he probably did it because he thought it would help.
I don't think he thought that
probably
either, because I don't think he can think with a subject and a predicate
but
now.
My only point to it, I want to get back to this whole thing anyway. The only thing I was getting to there, I just thought it was a bit of a mistake. So I just think it's making Amy Klobuchar your vice president. Here's the thing. If having a female VP is a big deal and impactful, you shouldn't have to announce it 9 months or 6 months or 4 months ahead of time, right? It should just be impactful when it happens. I don't understand. That's my only point. It just feels weird to me.
No, because anticipation is the electricity of youth, my friend. Anticipation of a female VP generates far more media than the actual calling. No, you completely
so hold on a second.
exponentially increase your media coverage.
See, I don't know, man. I feel like you have this really weird paranoid
It's not paranoia. It's an understanding of the media. You're going to get more headlines over a much more extended period of time if you announce that you're going to be choosing a female VP than you will for having chosen the female VP.
No offense, but I think having a 4-month controversy of will it be female, will it be male,
and who starts that controversy?
Is Joe Biden leaning towards X is Joe Biden's camp by leaning out. Hey, you know what? Joe Biden might actually tab a Beto O'Rourke as VP, and you get a bunch of news cycle there. You know what? No, he's not going to do Beto O'Rourke. But just when you say she's going to be a woman, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like when you finally announce Amy Klobuchar, it's like, oh, so Amy Klobuchar competed against 0 men. That's kind of weird. Like the field was slashed to just females immediately. Like, that's bizarre, is it not? I don't know. That's one thing I mean, is that like the message of having the first female VP is lessened when, well, like someone had to be it. You know what I mean? It's less like this year. It's, instead of being like it could have been another year where the Democrats don't have a female VP. I'm just saying, if he truly cared, I guess, kind of to your point of all it's pandering. I don't think there's this 9D chess media game that's being played all the time. Because again, if there was, I think the better ploy is to make it a controversy that's like a talking point. Where Joe Biden can be like, how about this? They could have crafted a narrative where Joe Biden was under a lot of pressure to have some phony male establishment crony VP, but Joe Biden like fought and pushed because he believed in X. They could have just sold us that baloney if they really wanted to make it a big story. I think Joe Biden I honestly don't know. I do think, to your point, he did want to get that headline, but it's short-sighted. Because once you make that announcement, if you're not like announcing your VP 2 or 3 days later, it just kind of like diminishes the whole thing. Like, okay. I mean, it would kind of be like at the beginning of a football season, someone was just like, that team is going to win every game in the Super Bowl, and then it happens, and you'd be like, oh well, yeah, okay, we were told that. But in reality, people would lose their mind if it happened. Because guess what? Almost every year it doesn't. So when it's special, I don't know. I just feel like it cheapened everything, made it all pointless. But I just want to get to it too. Is they do mention in this article that the 77-year-old Biden would be the oldest man ever elected. And he is not committed to seeking a second term. How bizarre is that? Not committing to seeking a second term if you've been elected. And it's like, yeah, if you guys elect me, probably going to be it. 1 term, 4 years, Sometimes you just need a stopgap. Like, what the hell is he talking about with this stuff?
Well, it cheapens your existence as a potential president. None of us think of a president as a stopgap. None of us ever envision any 4-year period of the importance of the presidency as being a stopgap. I can't think of a stopgap president.
You should. Again,
and so that's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst selling point. Yeah. Like you try and sell him on character until you find out that he's a rapist. Okay. And you try and sell him on character until you find out he sold you out. And just like the DNC has completely forsaken the working class of America, he sold out the working class of America while enriching his son off of oil deals in Burisma. So the character arguments are just toast. Okay. So what else are you going to sell him on? Well, you can't sell him on progressivism because for 40 years he's been an establishment candidate that's actually actively hurt progressives, mocked progressives, and done nothing for progressives. And he's tried some of these lame duck things. But just today, for example, on the Hill, they were talking about how Joe Biden has not included a single Bernie person. A single high-ranking Bernie person has not been adopted into the Joe Biden candidacy machine like traditionally candidates that have defeated another high-ranking primary candidate will do. So he's obviously uninterested in the progressives, and anything else he's saying is just theater, political theater. Well,
ideally,
like please, like he's gonna.
But again, outside of the what I'm looking for, the media obsessed mindset, dude. Ideally, your candidate is some kind of platform or policies or ideas he's running on that you start with. You know what I mean? Like ideally, those are there, and then the other stuff can be a thing, personality. But like ideally, there's this. Oh, this guy's running for president to do a thing he wants. I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole argument about it, but you can't say that Trump couldn't pitch you on. I want to build a wall and. I guess beyond that, he was kind of muddy, but he had a thing. What's Joe Biden's thing? Even Bernie, Medicare for all.
Pathetic. Yeah.
Andrew Yang, UBI.
No. Joe
Biden's
you know what Joe Biden's thing is?
Biden's thing?
No, Joe Biden's thing is he's an anti-candidate. His thing is not Trump. Stay alive long enough for my VP to win in. That's literally the pitch. The pitch for Joe Biden is, I'm not Donald Trump. And I will stay in office long enough for the progressive box checking enough VP I chose so that they would come and knock doors for me, because that's what I do is I use progressives. My progressive enough VP will then be president. That's it. I mean, that's the pitch.
Okay, but no, Amy Klobuchar has nothing to do with progressives.
Well, she's a woman. She checks one of the intersectional boxes.
Here's the thing, man. No offense, but you have a habit of finding a group of people you really don't care for very much and know not that much about, and be like, oh, I get everything about them. Of course, they'll accept Amy Klobuchar as a progressive.
Well, when
She's
identity
female.
is all that matters, you don't have to do much research.
Dude, can I ask you what gender Ivanka Trump is? Can I ask you what gender Melania Trump is?
I find that offensive.
Can I ask you what gender all these conservative women that get death threats are? Like, no, dude, it doesn't matter. Just because no one's that shallow is my only point, okay? Your actual thoughts and your ideas, even if someone claims to be the shallowest individual of all time, what people do and say will impact what they feel about them, is my only point.
Okay, we have 2 super chats.
What I want to talk about, it's kind of the second thing I want to talk about here, which is Zilix at a $5 super chat saying, why don't trust the media with the link? I'll play it. I'm wondering if YouTube tickets. I don't care if they will, but we'll get to that in a minute. That's a separate topic I want to get to. And then $10 super chat from Sly Cactus. What are your thoughts on people being labeled liberals or conservatives? I find it odd some people call themselves one when everyone exhibits both liberal and conservative thoughts or actions in life. Personally, really quickly, I think liberals and
That's true.
But there's a lot of things people declare themselves to be, which really there is kind of like I don't know. You could say America is a country of two minds would be the pretentious way of saying it. But there's definitely these two general ideas that dominate almost everything. We can kind of call them right or left, liberal or conservative, but I do think people do like to make it known which way they are. Are they red-pilled or blue-pilled? Are they liberal or conservative? Are they woke? What is it, right? And like people do want to make it known. No, and I'm trying to think of a good like litmus test thing, but a lot of the stuff where you just have a knee-jerk, oh, those SJ dubs, dislike, right? Those things. The people who feel the inverse of you, right? The people who read the stuff that you obviously...
The people that are wrong.
The thing is, that's what I mean. I think that's where a lot of it comes down to. It's kind of like, again, a separate discussion, but something I've seen a lot of people talk about. It's kind of the idea with, you'll see, like, for example, on the internet, the way people have, like, pronouns in their Twitter thing, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people will ask it, and it's kind of just a way to establish right up front. It's almost like, God, I don't want to make it sound crass, but you know, like back in like the day when there was when people weren't as accepting of gay people, they would kind of have things they would say to let people know, like,
yeah,
we're cool, right? Like, I think a lot of times it's things like that where you kind of throw a feeler out there and then you see how they respond, right? Because for example, if you're like, oh, what are your pronouns? Someone just confused, like, then you know, like, okay, maybe I'm not going to go there with them, right? And if someone's like, oh, I am a Zian or whatever, then like they'll tread differently. I think that's an extreme version, but I think you'll see with liberal or conservative people, they kind of want to know how, because everyone does it all the time, where you kind of have, again, there's an old joke on the internet. It was a concept of hiding your power level, right? But like, you're not just gonna walk up to someone and be like, here's all my fringe beliefs. And then, but if you find out you're both kind of one mind, you might start diving into those fringe beliefs together. And that's kind of one way to start that off, right? Like, it's kind of like, imagine if you have like an apolitical conversation with someone. Right now it's tough, but like, imagine having a complete apolitical conversation with someone, all of a sudden being like, yeah, you know, like these crazy governors and the lockdowns, and then being like, I think that we should never unlock down. And it's like, sometimes it's better up front to know where someone is on these unfortunate dumb issues that come up that really do just become like, you either are on side A or side B. And I don't know, I feel like people do like to, just for comfort, know who I'm dealing with up front, so they know if they have to be guarded or if they can just be open about what they believe. I think that's where it boils down to. I think people have all kinds of weird reasons they'll come up with, but to me it's just for comfort. If you declare yourself a conservative and you only hang around people that are conservatives, you know that you can make jokes like, oh, these dumb idiots that think this, because no one here thinks that. And the inverse is, when you're hanging around people that are like liberal or progressive and you only identify with liberals and progressives, you can make jokes like, these stupid, dumb conservatives, capitalism sucks, all the time, because you know, like, everyone feels that way. And you do that because everyone's declared how they feel up front and then gathered together. I think that's how we do it. It's uncomfortable, and all of a sudden if you're like, yeah, well, you know, like, obviously Marx would, you know, communism. I'm you know, obviously doing like a kind of like a stereotype or like a dramatic example, right? But you don't want to be doing something like that and have someone be like debating you on communism, right? No, I was just trying to joke. Or the inverse, right? You know, I'm like, yeah, stupid socialists, what do they know? And have someone attack you on the merits of socialism. It's like, well, that's not why I'm here to do this. And so one way to get around that is just declare up front what you represent. I kind of, trust me, I'm not trying to say I'm a gangster or anything, right? But I do think
you're kind of thug.
No, but it's not too unlucky. Like kind of like what is it? Kind of like what crew are you with? Like, what sets do you rep? I guess I've heard, right? It's not too unlike that of like, are we friend or foe? I want to know now. And I want to make it known. And there's so many dumb issues that like think about it. There was a few months in this country, your opinion on your opinion on Captain Marvel and the Joker movie, would reveal your politics to people, and you'd have to if you wanted to keep it caged, you'd have to be like, I think both films could be better, but are fine. Think about it. You could not just come out and have a full-throated, 100% approval or disapproval of Captain Marvel or the Joker without people sussing out your political motives. Sometimes people like to just be upfront with them so they can get around that. Because I try to keep it short, but that's what I was thinking.
Well, I got to tell you, I totally agree with Sly Cactus. What I say oftentimes, and I'm guilty of this as well. I mean, I fully admit my hypocrisy in this. I'm getting better at not being as hypocritical. Okay. But I was just talking yesterday with a couple people who are very conservative. And I said, I really don't like when people use liberal as a pejorative because we don't realize how insanely liberal the average American actually is. And if you look up the true meaning of liberalism, we're the most liberal country that has ever existed, while simultaneously being one of the most socially conservative. Okay, so how is it that we're liberal and conservative at the same time? Well, in the same way that a father can be loving while stern. Okay, and also, I don't think people actually know the definition of what liberalism and conservatism is. They've just morphed their political definitions into the boxes that their social definitions should fit. So, for example, if you listen to country music, you must be a conservative, even though your music choice doesn't dictate your thoughts on taxation. And everything's a culture war now. So conservative now has been associated with the more rural and partly suburban aspects of our society, while the urban and partly more densely populated suburban aspects of our society and wealthy aspects of our society now are liberal. There have been times, and that's another one, socioeconomics bleeds into everything. It used to be that the Democrats were generally the more poor, the more working class. If you were power to the people, you were probably a Democrat. Well, now if you're power to the people, you sure as heck ain't a Democrat. You know what I'm saying?
Well, depends on who you ask, huh?
Ish. I'm talking statistics here.
Hold on. There's Democrats who I self-identify as Democrats and say, power to the people is something I oppose. Those people exist en masse.
Okay. There's people that
that's
exist.
That's how you feel about them. I'm just saying, man.
I'm talking voting numbers here, Cody. And Democrats lost the working class of America.
No,
it used to be their stronghold. They lost it.
I'm not defending Democrats here. I'm just saying I don't think the Democrats' platform is "we hate the people." I'm not saying that
their platform was "they hate the people." I'm saying that they lost that voting block.
No, but even though, hold on, I walked it back. The DNC's platform is "we hate you," but I'm just saying it's hidden. It's not open.
Okay, but either way, my point was that political definitions have been commandeered by culture war definitions. And so I don't think anybody actually even knows what they're saying when they say, oh, that guy's a liberal. Well, let's hope so, because it means he's willing to speak and reason over political ideas instead of punching you in the face. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that at its core, the Greek Senate was the first liberal governing body in which problems were brought before the Senate, and you spoke about the problems, and then based upon the voting cohesiveness of the senators, we developed a solution based upon this idea of come, let us reason together, okay? It was the reasoning body of this great collaborative action through the spoken word that we made our decisions, which is basically the core of liberalism, instead of the strongman coming in and saying, oh, by heredity, I therefore make the choice. Oh, by God's decree and my blue blood, or my appointment by the Pope.
Okay, but what does it have to do
I make the decision.
What does it have to do with people wanting to declare themselves to be one or the other?
Well, I'm saying that a lot of people use the term liberal and conservative to identify their cultural affiliation, not their actual political views. That political definitions have been corrupted by the culture war.
Yeah, I know.
So that's why I'm saying I was just responding to Sly Cactus when he says, what are your thoughts on people being labeled as liberals or conservatives? I think most people don't even know what those labels mean, so they defer to these culture war labels that they think they mean. And he says, I find it odd that some people call themselves one when everyone exhibits both liberal and conservative thoughts or actions in life. Yeah, I think the average person is socially libertarian, not socially liberal. Because right now liberals won't allow you to laugh and they want to censor you. And most people don't believe in censorship and believe in free speech. So I believe most people they used to say socially liberal, fiscally conservative. Now I believe most people are socially libertarian and fiscally, gosh, I dare not say conservative, because supposedly the conservative Republican Party in the United States of America just passed the biggest spending bill of our nation's history. All right. So I think most people are socially libertarian and fiscally responsible.
Hold on, though. Here's the thing, though. Like, there's why I don't like any like political definition arguments.
Well, it's important because words have meaning.
Okay, but here's the thing: words do have meaning. We don't get to decide them.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't. People in large do.
We contribute.
What does the word based mean?
We contribute to the clamor of every voice.
What does the word based mean? Let me know in chat. What does based mean, chat? Let me know. What does the word based mean?
Like a based argument?
B-A-S-E-D. What does the word mean?
A based arguments mean it's an argument that's rooted in something, or else it's an argument that has become vulgar.
Sorry, look it up.
Due to the actions of somebody.
Look up what based means. My point is this, man. We don't get to just decide what words mean. Individuals.
Yeah, we do.
Cultures do. Societies do. Individuals do.
Yeah, well, it's our individual contribution to the societal discussion
that
helps.
Man? Okay,
he helps push it. Okay, our little portion.
It does help push it. My point is this, man. We don't get to decide it. We do know what it is. We kind of know we know what it is when we see it. But there's nonsense words that just adopt new meanings.
Like kofifi?
A little bit different like that, because it's a word that exists that just is reappropriated to mean something else, and is parroted and spammed to mean something else. And a lot of times it ends up just meaning nothing. It just gets thrown in to mean a million different things. As far as I can do in the etymology of the modern use of bass, it goes back to one of my favorite rappers, Lil B, the bass god. Can't tell you much more than that. What does the bass god mean? Why is he the bass god? What is the bass god? I don't know. People still use it, though, and they use it in ways you can't even understand. You can't even define, but that doesn't mean that you get to decide what based means. That's how all this stuff works, man. People use these words in ways you largely disagree with and don't necessarily agree with meaning them, but if enough people are using it that way, what does it mean?
Then they're commandeering the language.
Or sometimes you're not standing in the central point of everything, and you're on the sidelines, and they're moving past you because you're not the center of the universe. Okay. You're just one person left out when everyone else is using the new word.
I don't think George Washington was the center of the universe, but I appreciated his...
Okay, but we'll say, how do you personally, when you hear Stan, do you think it's a name or do you think it means anything?
Well, there's the colloquial sense of the word.
No, I'm sorry. Like, what does the word Stan mean? Let me know chat. How do you define Stan in chat? Where does it come from? Why do we use it?
Like, I stand for Mariah Carey means
okay,
like,
did you ever once push it in that direction? Do you have any input on that? Or is it just some things are bigger than us and they kind of get decided for us?
Yeah, but also saying I stand for something.
Because you're an Eminem fan. Comes from Eminem song, I believe.
I know it comes from an Eminem song.
But my point being is that like that same stuff applies to political words, man. Sometimes people will just start using a political word. I saw someone point something out hilarious. I guess, I don't know if Donald Trump said this, but I saw somebody in politics literally say, we need to create a brand new historically black college.
What?
So, it can't be brand new in a story. Like, it doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
But it's because historically black, it's just a something they
need a brand new colonial village.
That has become a meaning for like you can just put that in front of college and it means something now to people. Whether we agree or not, I'm saying that's what happens. And sometimes it gets
that's pretty dumb.
It kind of gets out of your head. It's not,
but it gets out because we haven't along the way.
What does Medicare for all mean? Ask 90 people, you get 9 different answers, right? Because it's.
I have too much respect for the spoken word.
People, but my point is this though: it's like if you
maybe that's a marker of us.
No, if you respect the spoken word, then you should respect that. You should respect the fact that people get to morph it and change, especially English, and do whatever they want.
That's them butchering and corrupting something.
No, that's
like
the
for
magic
example,
of language.
if I respect my collection of hats, okay. It doesn't mean that I let anybody wear them and bend the bills and put them on backwards and sweat through them while they're doing yard work. No. If I respect my collection of hats, then I'm actually going to keep them in a good place and clean.
That's what I mean. Can you make an argument that's not just like an analogy of two things that aren't too relatable?
Yes, they are related.
What is respecting but you think you're not respecting the force of language. The force of language is this.
No, because the force of language is different than the actual spoken word itself.
Okay, but the spoken word is this. It's not even spoken. The written words that we use to communicate mostly with now anyway. But the written word is this. Stand means one thing in 2005 and a whole other thing in 2015. That's what it means, man. And if you don't respect that, I don't know how much respect you actually have for the language.
Okay, so
if you don't respect the fact that there's stuff like when they were first using English in like That's a great one. How about home? How about dinger? What does the word dinger mean, huh?
Humdinger.
No, dinger.
Dinger, I don't know. What is a dinger?
That is a home run.
Oh, okay, like in the 30s. Ow, and he hits a dinger over the big
point being is like
fence in the back.
Some of these things are words that meant something before, and they've been like, how many words do we use now that don't mean what they used to mean, but they used to have a meaning? We call something a thing because we still. I'm trying to think off the top of my head a good example. Let me know if you guys think of something in chat, but there'll be a thing. And let's say we used to use something to do something, and now we use something else to do the thing. We'll use the over. I don't know. I'm just saying, man. I think that's one of the reasons why I feel like if people get too hung up on what words should mean, that's why political discussions get really confusing and dangerous. Hold on. You have to understand, me and you can have different definitions of a word, and if we can't enter a political agreement, understanding that we might have different understandings of a word, then we'll just get hung up on like, well, how do you say this and think this? And it's like, oh, because we something different. I don't know. I don't feel like it's good for me to say, well, I got the right definition, so you're wrong. We have to just operate with both.
Okay. Well, Nate Johnson quotes Eminem saying words are weapons. I maintain that, yes, you can demand that words maintain their original definition while having fun with the way that they morph colloquially.
Dude, you are like...
That's it. I can say what's up without getting pissed.
You are just
like what do you mean, what's up? I'm not going to be...
personified. Like, no, trust me, I can hold these things separately.
Can't believe we're arguing about like whether or not words have meaning. I'm basically saying you're making the postmodernist argument. I'm not.
I'm making the society argument that if the society says the restroom's the bathroom, then it is. If society says you park on a driveway and drive on a parkway, then you do. That's what I'm saying, man. Like it's not up to us. My only point. Some things are just bigger than you or me, and that's what it is.
Okay, like, so Jacob Cisneros
all the time.
Jacob Cisneros says, Cardin, if you respect the English language, then ye should be speaking like ye olden times. He brings up a good point. Therefore, I shall engage in speech with thee, my friend young Cody, in iambic pentameter for the duration of yonder podcast.
I know, like I can't believe for someone who respects language, I can't believe you call it us degenerate Yanks speak English. It's not the Queen's English at all.
It's not the Queen's English.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I see it happen a lot with political arguments. Or I see two people arguing in politics, like online, especially where you have a lot of third-person arguments. Just watch happen.
Well, it's important that you don't let people commandeer the use of words.
Okay, but you also just can't. Those are really ineffective way of arguing with someone. Your definitions are wrong. Well, like, okay, I'm not arguing with you then. Like it just kills arguments. No, you have to just argue around with say, okay, if you define that word as that, like what are the like?
Well, definitions matter. If the cops are out looking for the brown-haired guy that's 5'4", and looks a lot like Cody Como.
Here's another analogy.
But we argue about what the definition of brown means, then they might arrest the wrong guy.
Okay, what if somebody had brown hair and I'm like, wow, that's so dark, I thought I was black. Then yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. That's why sometimes they'll say dark or light. Because
that's a misperception on your part, though, not a misidentification through the language.
You don't know how I define the word brown hair. When you make that assumption, sometimes you're wrong.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll say the guy had brown hair. He ran by, you're like, dude, you call that brown? That guy was like dirty blonde, but like he was like definitely closer to blonde than brown. And then you'll realize how it's kind of a goofy point to just assume we have the same definition of words. That's a really good example.
Okay, so we can put
that happens all the time.
We can put this argument
How
to
about
rest.
this? How about what if you saw somebody leave and you're like, oh, he was really short. All I remember is he was short, but you're 6'5". Short's like my height.
Okay, so I want to put this argument to rest, and we'll allow the chat to decide. Do words have an intrinsic meaning, ladies and gentlemen, that they should represent, despite whatever colloquial permutations they go through? Do words have an intrinsic meaning, okay, that needs to be preserved, or is their meaning only that which we in this moment basically agree upon colloquially?
Man. My point is this: whatever the answer to that is, I don't care. It's not useful to enter into discussions with people where you just get so hung up on the fact that you define a word. Like I'm saying, there's a reason why, and what you brought up is a good example. It's the reason why police, when they're describing things, they're not even police. When you're trying to describe someone, you want to be like light, dark, but then when it comes to size, they'll ask for more specifics. For a good example is this, man. It's like, I don't want to get too lost in it, like you said, but I think when it comes to politics, right? If I have a slightly more, say, aggressive definition of a word than you, I don't know. I just personally argue it's better to find a way around that than try to convince that person their definition's wrong. I just look it's a fool's errand. Most of the time they won't believe you. No one's going to be like, you're right, man. I used the wrong way to define my words. Sometimes it's better to just work around it. That's my only point. I'm not saying it isn't true that like just because someone shouldn't be able to just pervert what words mean to get away with it to make their point stand, but I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of foolish to try to argue that because Because you know what happens? You know what happens when you try to argue that?
Okay.
You don't listen, one, because I know you're not listening. But two, you end up arguing semantics with someone instead of you arguing about like their actual points and ideas. That's my only point. If you get too hung up on the fact that I disagree with how you define that word, you end up doing what me and you just did, and you argue semantics instead of any real concept or idea. Right? It's like, we're going to have a debate about housing. No, we're not. We're going to have a debate about semantics for 95 minutes because what you consider to be NIMBYism, I don't consider to be NIMBYism. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like those arguments are dumb and they happen all the time. Instead of just being like, okay, let's just get over the fact we have different definitions for the word for NIMBYism, and we'll come up with a different way of attacking this so we can get back to the idea of where should we build these houses.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Or do you get the point I'm trying to make there? Because I get what you're saying. That like it's not right for someone to just say like, oh, you don't want to build a house 5 counties over. Sounds like NIMBYism to me. It's like, well, hold on, man. Like it's nothing to do with that being close to me. You know, maybe I don't want them tearing down a forest, right? That's a different objection. The only problem is if you just argue about what NIMBYism is, you can't get to the argument of I don't want them tearing down the forest.
So Jack says, from a moral philosophy perspective, Cody is right, in my opinion, in the sense that society gives words meaning. Yeah, of course, society gives words meaning. I agree with that. Problem is when changing definitions is used to mask moral disengagement, which is what I agree with. That's why it's important to preserve that original meaning. But if not, make a new word.
But call them out for changing meanings. Don't argue what the word means to them. Does that make sense? I just as far as communication goes, man, it's better to say, hey, look, I think you're intentionally or unintentionally just kind of misrepresenting ideas. Because if you're trying to argue with someone that their understanding of a word is like incorrect or false or dumb or wrong, and you don't get anywhere, man. It's like a dumb way to argue with someone.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to get back to talking about why Joe Biden is the worst president of my adult life.
Yeah, tell me about that. How many years living under Joe Biden?
Is the worst presidential candidate of my entire life.
No, he isn't. Get out of here.
No, you're right. I was there in the 90s when David Duke ran.
He's better than Hillary Clinton.
There.
David Duke, I forget, ran for president.
Yeah, no, he ran for president.
Actually, I don't know.
I was in 6th grade. I remember seeing it on the poster.
That's a good question. Is Biden better than Hillary?
Is Biden better than Hillary? Yeah, just because he there's just a chance that he would die earlier and do less damage.
Okay, but hold on. I want to watch this video because someone sent this super chat a while ago, and I want because I people talk about this a lot. I think there's something to it here, but I just take a different stance than some people do on this one. So we'll play this really quickly. Check this out. What was this? November of 2017? Is that when this originally ran, I believe? Either way, check it out.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news has become
all too common on social media.
We can run this for another minute or so, but you get the gist of it. There was a big moment. It was around Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, but it happens a lot. Okay, what we're seeing here is the fact that, and it is really scary, and it actually touches back to a story we did the other week or so, but the Andrew Yang delegate, forgot his name, and the candidate, whose Google results are all screwed up, is that, what is it, Nielsen Broadcasting, right? Who is it? No,
it's not. It is the other name, though. It's the one that's owned by Bannon's buddy.
I want to say Salinger. It's not Salinger.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
Anyway, the problem we're seeing here is that there is literally one giant media conglomeration that owns like almost all local affiliates. And when one person owns almost all these local affiliates, because you'll notice it's CBS, it's Fox.
Sinclair. That was it. Sinclair Broadcasting Group.
Not Salinger, Sinclair. But what's really interesting is they can send scripts to hundreds to probably hundreds, maybe even, I don't know. God tell you, don't know the exact number of these local affiliates, and they can have him read off a script. They can have them all say the same thing at the same time. Just insert city here, And it's not like it's all Fox, all CBS, all NBC. It's local affiliate, whatever it is. If your local affiliate is CBS, if your local affiliate is Fox. Out here in Los Angeles, we have, I think, every one. I think we have a local Fox affiliate, local CBS affiliate, just meaning your local news. Like, for example, like there isn't, like, was it Channel 7, Channel 9, those kind of lower number local news. You tune in, they say like, oh, a dog got rescued from a tree kind of stories. They exist in every town in America, all across the country, and they're owned by one general corporation.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy. They can actually do that. They can actually just send out a message. I think this shows what happens when you have one person or one interest behind the strings for too many things. Yeah, this is what messaging looks like when they send it out. This is what happens when that 20-person email goes out from some press release for some candidate to 20 people, and from specifically between New York Times and X and Y and Z. It kind of creates this narrative. I don't know. It is weird. It's creepy when you see it layered out like this when you use the local affiliates, but you can pull the same thing up with headlines. You'll see. I mean, this is a little bit different. This is not actually. I don't want to pull it up. I was going to do the if you Google the walls are closing in and go to news, it's just like, I think like once a month for the last 4 years, somebody's written a story saying the walls are closing in on Donald Trump. Like, you can find hundreds of them.
Yeah.
But there'll be times where you'll notice like 4 or 5 stories will come out within 24 hours of each other with like the same keywords and the same messaging because they all got the same email. I think that's what we see here.
Got a super chat.
It's really weird. Oh, yeah. Oh, from Ducky Hodges saying, and that's why we go to PSP for the... Well, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. We definitely try to call out the things that are fake and lying and best we can. Because it's all you... Honestly, that's all... It's weird. That's like... that's how you understand the news. The only way you can understand news now is by just being like, okay, which one... Where's the lie? Where's the obvious no, that's not true? And sometimes you catch it, it's creepy. You'll be reading a story like, whoa, this is crazy. That's real. And you get to the line where they're just like... It has been speculated that was what this person meant when they said this. And it's like, oh, wait, what? That's what this whole story is based off of? It was speculated someone might have meant this when they said a thing? Weird.
So, Jacob Cisneros brings up a really good point. Says, everyone watches for the weather girl. You know what I'm saying?
No, I forgot. No, there isn't weather girls. Now it's now they're meteorologists. They're scientists.
Yeah, that's
they're scientists.
true.
To get
they
the
should be
weather
wearing
girl.
lab coats up there,
know what?
not tight bandage dresses.
Well, it's how funny is that though that we actually believe that someone can just come on TV and they're pretty right most of the time, but it's because it's the weather. We actually believe like someone can just come on TV. I guess I'm luckier in our gen, like the time of like Doppler technology and stuff, right? In the 70s, it must have sucked, and they're just like way wrong. Like, oh, it's gonna be sunny today. It's just like raining because like crap, now we have like sophisticated radar technology, like military tech from the 90s, and they're like, oh no, yeah, look, there's like storms coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's hilarious. Have you ever seen these weather girl memes? It's actually pretty hilarious.
I mean, that
I'm liking
back,
Cisneros' comment. That was
goes
pretty funny.
back to like King of the Hill had that. I mean, like the
Devlin Ducky Hodges said Spanish news is my favorite. I gotta say it's pretty fun, and it's wild watching. Who's a leftist activist that masquerades as a journalist that's got white hair? He's like the Latino Anderson Cooper. What's his name again? He's the Univision main anchor.
Gotta be honest, man. Don't watch a whole
Jorge
lot of...
Ramos. That's it. Yeah, it's fun watching Jorge Ramos when he's actually speaking news and not DNC talking points. It's actually really fun. If you have no other reason to learn Spanish other than watching Spanish news broadcast and some really solid telenovelas, that's all the justification you need right there. That's all the justification.
What about the Asian dramas?
The Asian dramas?
You got the
they
Korean
don't have the
soaps,
game.
the
They don't have the
Chinese
game
soaps,
that the telenovelas do.
I was at a sushi restaurant once, and it was like, I forgot what it was, but it was like they were like speaking Japanese, and there was like on the show they were speaking Korean, but it was like translated into like Chinese or something in a Japanese restaurant. It was really weird, but. My only point being is that is how popular these things are. They'll put them in 30 languages and ship them across the globe.
Yeah.
So really, maybe that's the reason why you should learn every language, to be able to watch all the world's soaps.
Oh, dude.
Be a man of the world. Imagine if you could watch the English soaps, the Spanish soaps, the Russian soaps, the Chinese soaps, the Korean soaps.
Why don't they just get the casts?
Australian, maybe?
Why don't they get the casts of the Russian soaps to actually compete with the telenovela soaps and just see who can out-drama who? Like, oh, Esteban, ¿cómo pudiste? And then I don't even know how to speak another language, but like then have like the hot Japanese guy with his like hair coming down, like faking that he's a Esteban, just, saying what he says in Japanese. And then because Google Translate could handle the whole thing algorithmically, right? And then we just see who can out-drama each other. Dude, that's the next reality show. Forget The Bachelor. Forget American Idol. It's going to be international soap opera competition. Who can write the craziest script and then who can execute the most dramatic breakup of that day or something. I would watch that. Where international teams of actors, like the cast of Days of Our Lives, went up after the cast of Como Gira el Mundo in Telemundo goes up against like the Japanese soap opera or daytime TV cast and just boom, tries to knock it out of the park with who does the best daytime soap. You don't think that'd be cool, Cody?
I don't see how you could have it be fair.
You're right. The Latinos would totally win.
Well, no. No offense to TV actors, but a lot of the reasons why TV actors are TV actors is because you don't have to be the greatest actor ever to get pretty good at playing the same role for 8 years. You know what I mean? At a certain, or even like 3 years, right? Like, it's kind of hard to sell a role for 90 minutes on screen, but when you play the same person day in, day out for 4 or 5 years, you get pretty good at it.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be tough. Like, you'd have to find like a totally neutral ground, right? Like, and then the judging would be weird because I'm sure they have different styles, right? Like, they're different cultures. I doubt. I don't know. But I want to get something else. I don't know how I missed this. So getting back to the Joe Biden potentially having Amy Klobuchar as his VP, I somehow missed this paragraph. I was actually wondering if it was added later, but I don't think it was. So according to CBS News, I've been looking for some more info on this, that news outlets, and I have news outlets reporting that New Mexico Governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham, has told associates that she's being vetted for the job, something her aides have strongly denied. So I definitely want to get to the bottom of this, why her own aides are saying that is not true, Joe Biden did not reach out to her, and why she's coming out and saying it is true. Because there is some additional people here that potentially could be throwing in to the Veep stakes or throwing in to be vetted here. This one just stands out to me. I don't know why her aides would come out and say that's not true. Joe Biden didn't talk to her. You think your aides would be kind of same messaging? Right?
Yeah. You
think they'd be on board? I don't know. I'm going to look around a little bit more into that. But
well, also, I mean, it's good to be considered. That's always a positive notion, right? To show that you're in the running for something.
Okay, how about this, though? She was considered, and
like this, at least.
We looked into her for like 3 days, and there's so much baggage we couldn't bring her on. Is it good to tell people that happened?
Okay. What you looking at?
Oh, sorry. I was just trying to pull up and see. Okay, here's the article. That actually, here is Miss Lujan Grisham actually saying that she would do whatever necessary to help Joe Biden's presidential ticket. I'm going to do whatever I need to be doing to be the first Democratic Hispanic governor in the country. Biden already said he would have a woman on his ticket. Again, like it just cheapens it for anyone who wins. I don't understand. It's like I don't get it. Like I don't get why you have any competition and just be like, we're having an open competition, but like, a bunch of people are immediately excluded. It's like, oh, okay, well, I kind of got handicapped in here then. Like, if you just don't, I don't know.
Well, also, to me, it just seems
it's weird.
To me, it just seems that you forfeit immediately with these arbitrary curricula. Okay, with these arbitrary requirements, you immediately forfeit this idea that you're trying to do what's best for the country.
How about this? She would not even when she potentially erroneously said she was being considered, she wouldn't even say if she'd take the job or not.
Ooh, tough.
Yeah, Michigan's important. Not Michigan, New Mexico's important.
Well, I'm just saying that to me it was a bad move because I think that instinctually your average American knows that when you say something like that, like I want my next vice president to be a woman, okay? That you're forfeiting this idea, at least optically, that you're doing what's best for the country. When in reality, they feel like you're doing what's best for whatever rubric says women are better than men. If you were to come out and say, I want to choose the best person to be my vice president, then I think instinctually, the average voter thinks, okay, they want to choose the best person to run with them that's for the country. But when you say, oh, I want to choose, my VP has to be a X, Y, or Z identity politics moniker, there's an instinctual forfeiture, I think, that people feel. Even if they do agree with your prescription, even if they agree with the idea that, hey, we should have a female VP, that would be nice. Hey, I think it would be great. I think more women should serve. They bring a unique perspective different than what's traditionally sat on these boards for 100 years. So great, awesome. Let's add more.
Thing. I'm gonna
but
no flame to one. I'm just saying that's one of the. Hey, we've been doing things one way forever. Maybe we should do another. My only point is this: no offense to women, I don't think they're like magic beings. I think a whole lot of corrupt dumbass stooges are going to find their way to the top. It's great we've opened the pool of corrupt dumbass stooges to now include women, but they're all human beings. You know what I mean? Like, these aren't deities. They're going to have the same pitfalls like as everyone else. Like what Nancy Pelosi's been there for quite some time. She hasn't done any magic.
Me also,
that's reality.
It's actually kind of an insult to women, in my opinion, though, because it's like that soft bigotry of low expectations. It's just like, well, look, I'm not going to choose the men because they don't need any help because everybody knows they're better and they're far superior anyway. I'm going to choose a woman because I'm going to be avant-garde and I'm going to give these little women that need a booster seat to be at the seat with all of the men. I'm going to give them one leg up by choosing one of them.
Well, how about
to be
this,
VP.
though? Why don't we just go logical to the conclusions? Like, well, why'd you even run then, Joe Biden? You ran against like 5 women.
Yeah.
Serious.
That's
like
true,
that's what I
yeah.
mean. That's why I don't understand. Like, women would be even better. It's like, why not just say let anybody who wants to compete so the good people win? Like, it's just weird to me. Like, this it's like, yeah, Joe, if you actually believe we should have a woman president, you probably shouldn't have ran then.
Yeah.
Like, you probably should have.
I'd vote for Ivanka Trump for president.
You know what, maybe Joe Biden should have dropped out of the race and endorsed Amy Klobuchar on that stage then, if that's really how he feels.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's just so obvious it isn't that. Instead of just being like, wow, what a surprise, Amy Klobuchar, VP. Who would have thought? A lot of big names in there. We got random people saying, Joe Biden totally is considering me. Because, like, yeah, it was just weird. But it also means, here's the other thing. Amy Klobuchar, it's even goofier to, like, limit yourself to us. Because, like, dude, Amy Klobuchar feels like she's such a, well, you know, we can always go back to Amy, right? Like, there's nothing really that jumps off the page with Amy Klobuchar to me, right? Like, she's not like super popular. She's not like super. She doesn't have a lot of baggage.
Tom Orilla said the same thing that you do. Yeah, it said if she were a better candidate, if she were a better candidate and had a real understanding of the big picture, sure, but she isn't and doesn't. And I think that's another thing is so far a lot of these female candidates have proved to not necessarily be phenomenal leaders, but just really good cutthroats to get where they are. You know, I mean, Kamala Harris, what would this super dicey history to get where she was.
If you're gonna like fight for a job,
you know,
that lets you tell people how to live their life, you're probably somebody who, for whatever reason's very interested in telling other people how to live their life, right? Like a certain type of person's going to run because. Like, for example, if someone said, hey, do you want the power to tell other people how to live? I'd say, no, it sounds terrible. I don't want that at all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't campaign for it 7 times. So only a certain type of person does and will.
Yeah, AJ brings up a good point here. I'm responding to AJ in the chat. Says, I think elections should be voice only. Hey, remember we were talking about the validity of caucusing?
Yeah. Yeah, how'd the caucuses go?
Oh, yeah. I'm kind of with AJ right here. We should be able to sit around and as we're discussing things, if we agree, just say here, and just start knocking on the table. And if we don't like it, thou knave, you know, just like holler at each other. I think the voice vote needs to come back.
Yeah, clown government sounds great. I got a better idea. Why don't
we just clown government form the Constitution?
I got a better idea. Why don't we do? You ever seen the Russian slap fighting?
Oh yeah, that stuff's brutal.
That's president. You're the president until you get slapped and you get knocked out. And then other than that, I think that's a great way of governing our country. Why not?
Slap fighting, that just
sounds like
brutal.
An awesome way of governing. Why not? Everyone gets to say. Who doesn't have a hand? And if you don't, we'll get you a prosthetic one. We'll have someone slap for you. Everyone, anyone who wants can walk up and slap the president in the face. You just got to knock him on his ass or else you can't be president. Why don't we do that? Or your congressman, whoever. Your local assembly person, just whoever the regionally toughest slapper is gets to be the office. I mean, why not? Is that any different than the regionally loudest yeller?
Yeah.
I guess maybe loudest yeller is less offensive. I'd rather have the hardest slapper. It's easier to see.
That's true.
Harder to argue.
It's more of a meritocracy.
Yeah. It's harder to argue. Yeah. No, you weren't louder than me. It's like, nah, he slapped you and you fell down, dude. We saw it.
So, AJ just retracted a message. I was going to read it. I can't remember what it was. Bummer. Anyway, Dustin says Kirsten Gillibrand isn't bad. You're right. She's horrible.
She took bad advice.
And then, yeah.
I got nothing against Kirsten Gillibrand. For some reason, she had to run the wokest campaign ever. I don't think it's because Kirsten Gillibrand is the wokest person who ever lived. I think that was just the plan. Let's try running a really woke campaign and see what happens. I don't think she's just like the most, because you know why else too? Because it was like phony. Like she kind of backed down on a lot of it anyway. Oh, Sly Cactus, $5. Can we put a wig on Andrew Yang? Problem solved. I think it could fool Biden. Maybe. Has anyone?
Just run Evelyn. Run Evelyn. She's pretty and she's articulate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. Does she want to be president? It's the only thing.
She could be his
I
yin
just
to
don't
his
know if
yang, no
Evelyn
pun
wants
intended.
to be president. Everyone wants to be president, right? But has anyone done the face? But yeah, if not, why not? She'd be good. It's like people saying, why doesn't Michelle Obama run for president? It's like, do you know if she wants to? It's not very often. I think it's pretty unique to have a couple where both people. There's not that many Bill and Hillarys out there where they both want to be president. I feel like I don't think Melania wants to be president. I don't think a lot of husbands and wives. Like for example, I don't think Amy Klobuchar's husband would want to be president, right? Like a lot of these. I don't know. That's just
So Tomarilla apparently has some inside scoop. Says Gillibrand is horrid. She's my rep from a nearby town. She is a phony. I do have to say I agree with that phoniness because she has flip flopped on some very important things that require moral conviction, such as gun control in rural New York. That definitely showed her true colors as a flip flopper that just sticks her finger in the wind, like you say AOC does. And also,
secret to politics.
Yeah, it increases longevity in politics. You're right, but then also when I think of the word Karen, I just envision somebody that looks like Kirsten Gillibrand. To me, when somebody calls somebody a Karen, I just envision just like a Kirsten Gillibrand, somebody you could tell is very attractive at a young age and is used to getting what she wants, but now maybe as she's middle-aged and she's not getting as much as she wants, or maybe she realizes that life isn't panning out to what she thought it was going to be, and so she's got kind of a little bit of bad attitude. There's a perfect storm of many different bad factors coming together, and now she's just taking it out on the store manager.
Hold on, man.
That's kind of just that. That's just what I envision, and I think she's got the same bob, short-haired bob.
Have you ever met Kirsten Gillibrand? You went 30 years. I could tell looking at Kirsten Gillibrand, looking at that height, her mother must have been a runner. It's like at a certain point, you gotta be like, I've never met this person, and I don't know that much about them. I'm just saying, man, you went deep into this person's life, and hey, what's her favorite color, man? What was her favorite song in middle school? Can you glean that? I'm just saying, sometimes.
Hey, look, I'm telling you my impressions. You want to know my impressions?
Yeah, did she have a crush on Ashton Kutcher? I don't know. Maybe you do though. Can you tell by how she looks if she has a crush on? I will say this though, she published this ad, which is weird to me. First of all,
that's trying to be cool because you don't think you are.
She's obviously going to make the shot, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I would have to publish the ad. Gotta donate $1. $1 to Miss. Can everyone follow the Act Blue link right there? Donate $1, Kirsten Gillibrand. She sunk it. Wow. How sad is this? Gillibrand 2020 is one of many campaigns that did not exist for one day in 2020. Gillibrand 2020 was over like August of 2019.
Okay.
Just saying, it's kind of sad. At least Yang 2020 made it to 20. There was Yang 2020 in 2020. There was no Gillibrand 2020 in 2020. Which is weird to me, though. I just the validity of like showing off your beer pong skills, which I gotta say, maybe this is just like me being like a gross, dumb kid still kind of thing, but like, I'll never be used to playing beer pong with water. Table games, I don't get it. I just don't get it. It defeats the entire purpose of the game to me.
Okay.
We might as well just like play ping pong for shots at this point. What are we doing? That's just my personal stance. I don't get flamed in chat, but like have a water cup to clean the ball. But like you're drinking beer out of plastic cups, like get over yourself, okay? Like maybe if you're at an establishment,
I've never played beer
if you're at an
pong in my
establishment,
life.
they won't let you do it. But that's just my.
You ever played beer pong?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's a really fun game.
Oh yeah, I've never played beer pong. What are the rules?
Okay, show you right.
Isn't it like you have to throw the ping pong ball?
Watch the screen. She's playing beer pong right now. You throw the ball, elbows right there. There's some people play like that. And watch, ball goes in. Woo! Now, generally speaking, what I would call traditionally, you'd fill the cups up with beer, and then the team that's standing with the cups in front of them, when the ball goes into the cup, you have to drink the cup the ball went into, and then whatever side runs out of cup first loses. So you're trying to shoot into the other side.
Okay, cool.
It feels weird to me when you don't have beer in the cup because then it's just like they make the cup and you just drink a beer from somewhere else and pull the cup away. It's like, Weird game. Anyway.
Okay.
I feel like at that point, why are we playing? Here's my larger point. At that point, why isn't there why are we not playing with like official cups and official balls and like official weights? Like, my larger point is you can manufacture something more traditional if the beer doesn't have to be involved. It doesn't have to be as shady and just throw a ball in a cup.
See, I'm used to the kind of goldfish pong that you had at the state fairs and the school fairs where they had goldfish in the cups.
Oh, the scam.
And you had to throw. And then if you got, what do you mean a scam? It was actually annoying how successful I was. My parents wanted to stop giving me tickets or else because I'd always come home with a stupid goldfish they had to take care of.
Maybe they got a lot of goldfish to get rid of, man. And
That's what I can say. They're only like 10 cents.
That's the scam. Is that you take these dumb fish off their hands for them.
The feeder fish. You know, one of those goldfish got huge, man. Goldfish keep growing and growing and growing. Do you know that? You ever had a goldfish?
Yeah. I mean, like, but what do you
From
mean?
what I understand, they're just a species of carp. Or of like basically a glorified catfish. Yeah, it's. I'm gonna look this up. Goldfish are carp? Question mark. What does it say? The goldfish, known as Carassius auratus, is a freshwater fish of the family Cyprinidae, an order of whatever. It is one of the most commonly kept aquarium fish. And yes, it's a relatively small member of the carp family, which also includes the Prussian carp and the Crucian carp.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so dude, I think if I'm not mistaken, carp will grow indefinitely as long as they have nutrition.
How about this? On the extinction scale, goldfish are the least concern.
Of least concern,
for
yeah.
being
They're an animal of
species.
least concern. What's kind of crazy though is that they're apparently native to East Asia. How crazy would that be to be swimming in a lake and all of a sudden just see goldfish? That would be nuts.
I gotta be honest. If I was swimming in any lake and saw a bunch, one time I was in Catalina Island and I was kayaking around. And I was like in middle school for like a class trip, and all of a sudden the water got like black, like really dark.
Really?
And it was because a school of fish was swimming underneath me. It was like just individual little dark fish that were like, I mean, they weren't even that dark probably, just when there's that many of them, right? Like
Where was this?
Off Catalina Island.
Oh, freaky! That's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
What kind of fish? Were you able to peg it? It was
Fish.
probably sardines.
fish? I have not.
Yeah.
Swimming fish. Honestly, dude, if I found out there weren't even fish, I wouldn't be that surprised. But it was pretty cool. I just that's my experience with fish. So if I saw any fish anywhere, I'd be like, whoa, that's weird.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy. Wildest thing you ever seen in the wild, Cody? I want to know.
The wildest,
Scariest thing you ever seen in the wild?
scariest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, you ever confronted a bear? You ever been attacked by a mountain lion? Is that where you got those cool scars on your shoulder?
I've never been attacked by a mountain lion. No.
No. Anything nuts?
Not animals in nature. No. Like maybe I don't know. I probably saw like bear once. Yeah, I've seen bears a couple times. I've seen bears multiple times actually. Now I think about it, like coming through campgrounds and stuff when I was little, like a bear.
Okay.
Everybody, like, look out! There's a bear, and people would, like scared out with pots and pans.
You into camping so much or not so much?
I used to go when I was a kid. I haven't been like a decade probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that
But
is that out of personal volition or is that just because
Just the way
You've been
things
busy.
worked out. I used to go to the desert a lot too, so there's not like a lot of crazy animals in the desert for the most part. You're not going to come across
Dude,
like.
what are you talking about? There's Gila monsters, there's
Like, I'm
rattlesnakes,
saying, generally speaking, I guess we used to ride dirt bikes
tarantula
too.
hawks.
So when I'm like riding a dirt bike, I'm not like just sitting around waiting for it. You know what I mean? Like, and then you're around like big. It's not. There isn't like bears and wolves and lions and stuff. You know what I mean? It's pretty boring. It's like, yeah, I guess tarantulas. Seen a couple tarantulas. Because you
Okay.
work pest control, I'm sure you see all kinds of crazy weird stuff. For me, it's just nothing really that great. Bears up close a few times. That's about it.
Okay, that's legit. Scariest thing I ever saw. I've touched bat rays, which is actually really cool. They're slimy.
Okay, but yeah,
and they
like-
were huge, but a shark. When I came across a shark in Florida, that freaked me out.
No, cool. Did you punch it?
No, but I was within touching distance and it was scary AF. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how fast your heart races and and it was actually probably more, not necessarily the shark itself, but the vulnerability of the situation. Just this realization that I could not even recoil back and jump back right now if I wanted to, because the water is putting me at such a disadvantage.
Well, look at these fish, dude.
You know?
Whoa! Look at
Oh,
this
a
dude.
crocodile too. I touched easily a 20-foot crocodile. Not crocodile, sorry, alligator in Florida. Looking back, I was the stupidest 16, 17-year-old kid on the planet because I saw this massive alligator and I was like, dude, I want to touch its tail. And I was in Shark Valley, Florida, and I went up and I touched its tail, and looking back, my heart races. I can't even think about it. Like, I literally can't even think about what I did because it mortifies me. It was a giant, like black as sin alligator. It was so old and it was huge, and it was just sitting there. I was like, I'm gonna go touch its tail. Dumbest thing I ever did.
That is weird. Why touch the tail?
I don't know. Why do 16-year-olds do this stupid thing that they do? Maybe I was 17 or something like that.
I was asking. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, we're just crazy.
You know what? That's why I kind of missed the alligator hunter or crocodile hunter. What was his
Yeah,
name? Steve
Tim
Irwin.
Irwin, crocodile hunter.
I missed that guy because he had the funny style where he would like crawl up next to an animal and explain like why it's like the craziest, deadliest animal ever. He's like, and then I'm gonna pet one, and I'm gonna wrestle it. And that was weird. That's a funny bit though. It's a good bit where you build up how crazy something is, and you're like, and I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna sit next to it.
I miss that guy.
Yeah,
Too
man.
bad he got wrecked really by a manta ray. Wasn't that something stingray?
Yeah, he got a stingray to the heart
Got wrecked,
of all
man.
places. Isn't that brutal? Dang it. You know what? He really was kind of an international treasure. Also, speaking of which, Cody, you know what's so interesting? I was reading this the other day because you know how I'm big time into kind of like archaeological finds and whatnot. There is legit evidence, okay, that the Shakespeare family still has the original writings of William Shakespeare. Because despite the prolific nature of his writings, they're translated into every language. There's been more movies made of William Shakespeare probably than possibly the Bible. Okay.
Not more than Stephen King.
Yeah, not more than Stephen King. But no joke. Have you ever seen an original manuscript of Shakespeare?
Okay, hold on. Is there not like legitimate theories that Shakespeare also was like
Was Molière and all that other stuff? Yeah, they're all bogus.
But more like a name that a lot of like there were stories and people wrote all kinds of stuff, and it's like, who wrote this? Shakespeare.
Okay.
Who wrote this play?
No, well, no, we know of I think it's like 14 plays that are most definitely his, and they're probably all the most famous.
But I mean, there is
anyway.
some controversy. My point, right? There is some controversy.
There's some conspiracy theories that are akin to who shot JFK. Okay, but at the end of the day, have you ever seen, whether it's truly him or not him or whatever, have you ever seen an original Shakespeare manuscript?
No, but I wouldn't.
Is
Tell you
there?
what,
Is
you
there?
could
I'm
hit
going
me in
somewhere with this.
You
Just
could hit
work
me in
with
the face with one, and I would say, no, I've never seen it.
Okay. Well, are you aware of any that are in museums, for example? No.
Don't know.
That's because we have never found an original manuscript.
I know, yeah.
Okay. Everything is just supposedly copies of copies. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Because there's never been another writer in history where there's never been purported forgeries or been second generation ones in which somebody says, oh, I have the original, or else, oh, here's the first run print. Even though he got famous 50 years after he died, okay, there were so few plays in print that it would have been impossible not to have found one of his plays unless you were trying to hide them.
Oh, hold on. Wait.
Hold on. There's a legitimate, there's a wildly legitimate possibility.
That's not the only possibility.
Hold on. No, I'm not saying it's the only possibility, but I'm saying there's a wildly legitimate possibility.
I don't follow. I do not agree.
That no, well, just you don't even know what it is yet before you can disagree with it.
I don't think they're being hidden.
Okay. Well, hold on. They got so famous, so fast, and were declared by multiple kings back then, just as they would be declared nowadays, an international treasure, okay, to such a degree that it's very possible that the original family, upon realizing what they had and saying, holy smoke, these are Uncle Bill's, you know what I'm saying, actually decided not to divulge the fact that they still had them and that it's a family heirloom that has lasted 200 years. And it wouldn't be the first time that a hidden family heirloom didn't come to light until several hundred years later. There's been multiple family heirlooms that have been able to stay in the shadows for multiple centuries that date back to, date back to medieval royalty. All right. And the same thing goes for the original manuscript of Ode to Joy. It's already been said that if found, Ode to Joy would be considered by the UN a human, a human treasure, and they would invoke whatever that UN charter is to make it like a...
I just don't get,
So it's in hiding. Whoever has it is literally not divulging that they have it and is passing it down through generations because they don't want to get it taken by humanity when it's really theirs.
It's not theirs though, because everyone uses it. It's
No,
not
but
like-
that's what the law says. The UN can
okay,
declare
but-
it like they say this is a human
No,
treasure
okay,
now.
But we're talking about just like literally like paper and binding at this point, right? Because like the actual content, the stories themselves are already the world's. They're
Yeah, I
already
know,
owned by
but the
everyone.
original school, like take this for
What I'm
example.
saying is, I could understand maybe hiding secret works no one's seen, they've never been done. That makes sense.
Wait,
but, like,
so you're saying that you wouldn't feel it of value?
it just feels
You'd feel it
weird.
was just.
I
a
don't
bunch
get
of,
it. I wouldn't do it with what I
Okay,
know.
let me put it this way. Let's say you like sports. Let's just say you had the baseball that was the ball that Babe Ruth hit when he pointed outfield and he said, I'm going to hit this home run, even though everybody says that's a fake story. Let's just say it were a real story. And you had a baseball because Cody the Oracle's great-great-grandfather was in Fenway Park and caught that home run, and it's been passed down in the
I would put that in a museum, yes.
in the Oracle
I
family.
would put that in a museum.
Okay, you would put it in a museum. All right, fine. But let's just say
I would not convince the world it no longer exists and hide it away for 300 years. I wouldn't do that. No, I'd probably put it in. I'd probably at the very least have it on display. I would at the very least maybe try and sell it once. I don't know.
Okay, but let's just say
I
you wanted to
wouldn't-
have it on
I
display.
wouldn't have it
Or let's
locked
just
in
say you
key.
wanted to give it, let's just say you wanted to
You know
give
what
it
I
to
would
the
probably
County
do?
of Los Angeles
I'd
Museum.
I would do it with people that lend
Hold
it
on.
to a museum. I'd lend it to a museum.
Okay, let's just say you lent it to a museum, which is a great deal. But the United States government came in and said, no, first off, you can't lend it to the museum of your choosing. We're going to confiscate it from you, use eminent domain, declaring it a national treasure because Babe Ruth was a national hero, and it's not yours. It is ours. And by the way, it doesn't get to go into the California Museum of your ancestral home. It gets to go into the Poughkeepsie Museum because Senator Bartholomew Seymour Butts needs another line item in his museum. So it's going to the Poughkeepsie Museum of Cultural History.
No offense, man. You got to watch it with the straw mans. Yeah, I forgot. If the government would literally come to my house and break my knee with a pipe and burn it in front of me, I guess I would lie and say I don't know where it is, okay? But like in the absence of that, right? In the absence of getting my head blown off for admitting I had a baseball, I probably would try and do something with it. I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. It just, I don't get the story you're saying. It's weird to me that for hundreds of years, people would hide books or plays we know exist and recite and do anyway. I can maybe understand even hidden works, because I mean, like, Tupac songs still come out, right? Like, it's not crazy that there was an artist who died but that had created works that were not released. I mean, that happens all the time. But like, why? Like, no one can get the original. I don't know. That just feels weird to me. Maybe I could see it being passed around by like rich people for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And not, but it just, I don't see the idea of like it being like in a vault because like no one can know where it is. Like, that seems weird to me. Maybe like there's probably some paintings that went missing and have just been, being passed around by wealthy aristocrats in parts of the world, which I think's wrong. That belongs in a museum, or at the very least displayed, or at least,
or like
people should
wealthy
know.
Egyptian artifacts that were dispersed throughout the 18th
Statues.
and 19th century, and
Yeah,
and now are kind of becoming recongregated back towards where they belong. I could see that.
Because to go back to the Babe Ruth example, it almost be to me like being like, baseball doesn't exist. Weird. I know everyone saw him hit it, but I guess it doesn't. Like, it just feels weird to be like what? You're like, obviously somewhere, right? I don't know. Also, I swear I've read some pretty compelling stuff that points to, like, we use Shakespeare to describe something aside from just an individual and the stories he wrote.
Yeah.
Like, there was like other people, like there was like, to think of,
You know what I'm looking forward to?
how about what's like
Okay.
just because I want to get to what you have to say.
Yeah.
But it's almost like this. You could say, and people do it, George Lucas made Star Wars, right? He made the first Star Wars movie and stuff, like A New Hope. But it's like you like read into like the production of A New Hope, and it's like, well, I guess George Lucas made A New Hope, but I mean, like, there was a lot of people who had really interesting ideas and brought their talents to the movie and made it memorable. And I think, as time gets past, maybe something was like that. Maybe Shakespeare had different things that were there at the time, and over hundreds of years, it was a Shakespeare.
Okay.
And it's less of like, I don't know. I'm just saying it'd almost be like if somebody found Scary Movie 2 and were like, wow, Scream was like a microfilm that only lasted 35 seconds, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
we just don't talk about him anymore. That's weird.
So here now we gotta wrap it up here. We've already gone over, but I will tell you, and I'm curious, Cody, what is an extant artifact? An artifact that you are keenly aware of. You have immediate knowledge of its existence. What is an artifact that you would purchase if you had the money? that is up for private sale? Has there been anything that's gone through? It can be something as small as that
I want to get one of those
Wu-Tang album that was only sold for like
as
$3
small
million.
as small as the one of a kind Wu-Tang album. Honestly, I wouldn't really care about the price of it. I think it'd be cool to have like a old school like World War I water cooled Maxim gun. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Oh, water-cooled
Doesn't have to be
Maxim
like
gun.
operating, just as like a piece. I think those are really cool. There's really interesting history behind it. It's really interesting. Just interesting. Like the existence of that gun's very fascinating. It led to a lot of stuff. So I think it'd be cool to have one of them. It doesn't have to be a special. I don't care. I just think it's an interesting piece.
Okay, I'm thinking a couple things come to mind. I was thinking of that painting, The Kiss, made by Klimt, that was the subject of that one movie where it was taken out of Austria. I think that would be interesting. I'd love to own the Rembrandt waterscape that was stolen from the Boston Museum. It was in the 80s or 90s. It's the only existing waterscape painted by Rembrandt that was stolen by guys that dressed up as cops in uniform. I don't know if I'm weird for thinking this or if I just thought of it because of the high-profile nature of the item. But part of me would be tempted to own the scarf that one of Jack the Ripper's villains it was evidence from Jack the Ripper. And then because it would changed hands from private donors, they were able to actually DNA test it and identify who Jack the Ripper was just like 5 or 6 years ago. So maybe had it not already been identified, I would be tempted to buy it to help solve that mystery. I probably would have put my money towards that. Are you aware of what I'm talking about? You know how for years we never knew who Jack the Ripper was, but just 5 or 6 years ago, a scarf that was part of the original evidence bin went up for sale, and they were able to pull enough DNA from it to conclusively point to one of the original suspects, who was ruled out for a couple of reasons early on by police who were doing their due diligence.
How do we know then that he was?
Oh, it's because it's his DNA on the scarf.
So the DNA could not have possibly been in the scarf.
Well, because he lied and said I'd never seen the woman and met the woman, but he was
couldn't have been lying for different reasons.
You know what? I can't.
Just saying, it's a pretty bold 400-year assumption. Like he was the killer.
No, it's not 400 years old. It's only
200.
No, I'd say 150.
Okay, late 1800s, right? But
yeah,
I don't know. It just feels weird to me to be like, oh, we got him. We got him. It's like, dude, it's not even a cold case. It's like being like, we found out who was the guy who killed Jesus. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we already know that one.
Fine. We found out. I was trying to think of
when was Jack?
We found out who. It's weird. I'm trying to think of like what didn't like who was it? Was it?
It was in, we found August and November of 1888.
Okay, but that'd be like finding out who stole. What's his name? Was it Alexander the Great's body went missing? Wasn't his body?
I don't remember.
Remember the body of one of those like old like antiquity just went missing.
There's a lost film where there's a print of it that still exists that I would get, and I'd definitely be interested in getting stolen Mayan and Egyptian artifacts. That would be me. In fact, if that'd be a cool channel, that'd be a cool channel.
That's like you know, it's like they're getting like I gotta be honest. I don't know about some crazy artifacts. Like I said, I think there'd be some cool like military relics. I think it'd be fun to have just because recent history stuff. Like I guess the Liberty Bell. I'd buy the Liberty Bell. The Liberty Bell and I'd ring it every morning. That's what I would do.
I'd buy the Liberty
Bell. I'd go out
Bell.
there with one of those big gong hammers every morning and just wail on it.
Dandy.
My neighbors would hate me. There's that asshole wailing on the Liberty Bell like he does every morning.
That's
so
awesome.
It's like, hey, I spent $50 million on this bell. Dang right, I'm going to come out here and wail on it 7 hours a day.
You can buy its sister bell because I think there were 4 bells forged originally, and one of the sister bells is in a different town elsewhere. I don't remember exactly where. But anyway, let's continue the conversation for as long as we can in the comments below. I'm actually really curious if anybody in the audience has an artifact that they would purchase. It can be recent too. It can be a modern artifact. That you would purchase with your own money if you had it. It has to be an extant relative, extant.
Hey, what about the
artifact
rim? What
exists.
about the rim that Shaq hung on when he broke the backboard?
Okay, could be that one.
You know what? I would love to have the jersey from Kobe's last game. That'd be really cool.
Okay, the jersey from Kobe's last game.
I wonder where that is. That probably is like literally in a museum. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, and
if
it's
the
like
jersey from Kobe's last game's in a museum. But that'd be cool. I mean the Hank Aaron home run ball when Hank Aaron set the non-steroids record for most amount of home run. He broke Babe Ruth's record. He set the record that was been since broken, but it's the legitimate one. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
There's some great sports relics you can have. A lot of football ones I don't care about, just because football is like it's kind of a Midwest East Coast thing.
You wouldn't want Joe Namath's original. Not Joe Namath.
Hey, no. Hey,
who's the guy that invented basketball? The Peach Basket.
It was not Joe Namath. It was James Naismith, I believe.
Yeah, James Naismith. You wouldn't want James Naismith's first Peach Basket basketball?
I'd rather have, as Psychactus pointed out, Wilt's 100-point game ball.
You'd
Still,
rather have
I'm a
his
huge
100-point
Laker
game ball.
fan, man. I would much
Okay.
rather. I'm bigger than a Laker fan. I'm a huge Kobe Laker fan. Like, having any memento or artifact from any of the 5 championships or his last game would be just like.
Okay. All right. We're going to wrap it up, guys. We'll hang out a little bit
Oh yeah,
longer in the
if I
comments.
could buy any artifact that existed, it would be the body of the alien that crash landed in Area 51. I'd buy that. That'd be the artifact I'd buy.
Or just access to Area 51. Anyway, it's been real, and it's been fun, and it's been real fun. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.